Welcome back to After the Battle. I'm your host as always, Daniel Levi, and joining me now is Damien Beatdown Brown. Damien, welcome back to After the Battle, man.
Hey man, how you going?
It's going amazing. I mean, how are you doing? You're taking on Vinc Pichel this weekend. I mean, it's your fourth UFC fight. You must be pretty excited.
I'm pumped, man. I can't wait. I mean, when I had my first fight, I was just hoping to get another win, or just to get a win in the UFC. Now I'm having my fourth one and potentially my third win in a row, so it's exciting, man.
Man, you know, we've talked about your past performances, but one thing that I've always wanted to ask you about is your mindset because, you know, you're a guy that's overcome a lot of adversity, and in order for someone to be in the position that you're in, you know, you've won 7 of your last 8, you got to be super mentally strong. So what was the turning point for you that's led you to, you know, the big success you're having now?
Well, I think in the fight, it's just a military mindset, man. You know, like you're just one foot in front of the other and you don't let anything beat you. I mean, in the military, it's pretty much like a kill or be killed mindset. So it's like if you can embrace that and take it on board, then that's pretty much what you take into any kind of combat. But in terms of, you know, outside it and getting ready for fights, I mean, it's just about not worrying about the things I can't control. Like I used to worry about the things that I couldn't control and they'd make me nervous and all that sort of stuff. You know, you can't control that sort of stuff. You can't let it turn into negatives. You just got to worry about what you can control and what you can change, and everything else will take care of itself. I think it's just about thinking about that whenever negativities creep in or nerves.
So were you in the military before your MMA career?
No, I was in the military when I was before it, and then I took up MMA while I was in the military. I had my first my first 15 fights in the military.
Why do you think there was so much inconsistency earlier in your career, and why do you think now you're on this big hot streak?
I think the inconsistency early in my career was probably just me taking steps before I was ready. You know, like you see a lot of guys get to the UFC and they haven't even had 10 fights, and you know they lose a couple of fights and get cut. I think it's just about getting there before you're ready. You know. I went and fought overseas coming off 2 losses and I lost again. That was my first ever fight overseas. And then, you know, I went and fought for Cage Warriors because I felt like I couldn't find many opponents back here in Australia, and I like to stay active. And I probably just wasn't ready for those kind of trips. I mean, we've spoken about it before. Like I used to pay my way to Europe, and that, you know, you don't train properly because you don't want to lose the money you've spent on flights. And it's just like there's so many variabilities that affected my performances. I take nothing away from my opponents that won, but it's like I probably just took opportunities before I was probably ready to take them. And now I feel like whatever comes my way, all those lessons that I've learned have prepared me for this opportunity. I feel like I'm just ready to be here now.
So, to put it lightly, in a way, it's a blessing in disguise.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I mean, you know, wins, losses, doesn't matter, man. I'm in the UFC now. I've got a UFC contract, and I'm using all of those wins and losses as lessons to be a better person now. So, yeah, it's a blessing, really.
I mean, you're not just in the UFC. You got a winning record. You're coming off 2 very exciting performances, and now you're taking on Vinc Pichel. Now, this is a guy that, you know, I watched on season 15 of The Ultimate Fighter. He had 2 wins in the UFC, but he's been out for 3 years. Now, we watched your fight with John Tuck. We know that if someone starts to slow down a little bit, Damien Brown's going to put the pressure on them. Are you kind of trying to capitalize on the fact that he's been gone for so long?
No, not really. I don't think any fighter comes in underdone. I mean, you know, some people talk about ring rust, some people don't. Like, some people believe in it, some people don't. I'm not really going to read into it. I just treat it as if he's going to come in like he's prepared. I mean, he's had a few years off. You'd like to think he's probably rested, recovered, relaxed, 3 years worth of extra technique, and he'll probably come in a different fighter. So I haven't really looked into who he was in the past or how he fought. I just you know, I worked on my game, and I'll just go in there and I'll fight like I fight. And if he starts to slow down, then I'll start to pick it up. It's just, you know, it's the way I fight, man. I don't plan for anyone.
Now, do you watch tape on your opponents?
No, I've watched like 1 round of his last fight, and that was it.
Okay. So you didn't see the Hobby Lobby fight. The reason I bring it up is because something he did that impressed me was, so in his UFC debut, he got knocked out with a suplex, but then he goes in there against Anthony Njokuani, and he beats him via, wrestling. He uses a lot of suplexes in that fight. So that kind of showed me that, he learned from his mistake. Like, did you notice that even though you only watched one round?
I have seen the finish that Habilov finished him with. But he did use a heap of suplexes, but the third round he looked a little tired after doing that for a whole round. So, you can suplex away, man, but if you don't finish someone, then you've got to come back out to the bell, and then you've wasted a lot of energy. I mean, it's a very unconservative way to fight. So, yeah, I mean, I don't mind, man. Like, whatever, come out and wrestle me. Doesn't worry me, man.
Hey, speaking of which, because, when I told the fans that Damien Brown was going to be back on Half the Battle, one of the things they wanted me to ask you was, your plan on how to deal with his wrestling. And, I mean, when I heard those questions, I'm like, sprawl, use the underhooks, push on the head. But, I mean, do you have a specific plan?
Yeah, don't let him get hold of my hips.
There you go. I mean, that's all it is, right?
I mean, I can wrestle, man. Like I'm not a chump, like some, I can understand, like I can appreciate the fact that I'm from Australia, and, Americans have got this wrestling background, and they've got a really good base, and even if they're not like NCAA wrestlers, they've still got a wrestling base. It's like if you go to Brazil and you fight a Brazilian purple belt, he's going to have a good base, a good jiu-jitsu base. So I can appreciate that they've got a good base, but I mean, I don't feel like I'm a slouch on the mat. I feel like I can counter it, I can defend it. I feel like I could take him down if I want to. If I set it up properly, I'm gonna put him on his back. So it's like I don't feel like I can't wrestle. That's how I've won a lot of my fights, by wrestling and controlling people. So, the obvious thing is don't let him get close enough to get hold of my hips, and the fight will go the way the fight wants to go. Hopefully he doesn't come to wrestle. Hopefully he comes to punch on, man. I need some extra cash.
Yes, sir. Now, it's funny because a lot of people used to kind of laugh at Australian mixed martial arts, but now, I mean, you got a guy in Robert Whittaker who's challenging for the title, Dan Kelly's top 15, Tyson Pedro. You got up-and-comers such as Alexander Volkanovski. I mean, what's in the water over there, man? Because Australian MMA is looking more promising than ever.
Hey, man, we're like a slow-cooked stew. We've been brewing for a while back here, just no one's getting signed, and now they've started to sign us, and dudes that are ready are putting in performances. So it's like, there's always been talent out here. I mean, we got guys that have never been signed who have gone on and retired that could have fought easily in the UFC. It's just that the sport's grown to a point where other countries' talent is starting to get recognised, and people are like, oh, I didn't know they could fight. But really, they could always fight. It's just that the sport wasn't big enough to sign that many people from other regions. So, it's the same with Whittaker and the wrestling. Like, everyone says, how's he going to stop Jacare's wrestling? The right hand, man, he just stopped it. Like, it's like, it's just, we got lots of talent out here, man, and there's lots of people unsigned and lots of people signed that can certainly make a difference.
Now, you fought in Australia many times. Is this your first time fighting in New Zealand?
No, I've fought in New Zealand once before.
Okay. You excited, man? It's right next door.
Pumped, man. I mean, I like fighting overseas and traveling, so I'm excited about it. But I wanted to fight at UFC 211. Where was that? Dallas. But with the card in my region coming up, the UFC wanted me on it, so I put it off a little, and here we are. So hopefully, we go over there and get ourselves an exciting victory for the fans and the media, and get my next trip to the US.
I know you saw Max Holloway versus Jose Aldo. I mean, oh my God, could you believe he did Jose Aldo like that?
I mean, the dude's on a tear, right? 10-fight win streak. He's no slouch. You can't underestimate someone who's on a 10-fight win streak, and both their last losses are to Conor McGregor. So, did I think he was going to win? No, I thought Jose Aldo was going to pump him with leg kicks, and then if he didn't put him away, then he'd win a decision. But he didn't throw leg kicks, right, which shocked, I think, more than just me. So, you know, if you're going to box with someone who's got that range, eventually they're going to catch you, and that's exactly what happened. So, you know, well done to Max Holloway. I think it's awesome. Some young talent and young champions is good for the sport. You know, it shows that it's evolving and that people are coming through.
Now, last time we spoke, you know, you said one of your goals is, you know, you want to spread awareness, you know, for the military vets. And now that, you know, you are 2-1 in the UFC, you just had an incredible fight, your profile is growing. Do you feel like you've been able to spread that message at all?
Yeah, I think so. I think the more wins I get, the more I can spread the message, man. You know, it's important for veterans to stay strong and to really get through each day. I think there's heaps of them that struggle, and it's nice that there's people out there that'll, you know, just be a set of ears if they need it.
Yeah, no doubt about it, man. And, you know, much respect for doing that kind of thing. Robert Whittaker's challenging for the title. It's the first ever Australian to challenge for a UFC world title. Now, firstly, tell me what it means to Australia to have one of your own challenging for the championship, and then also tell me your thoughts on the fight itself.
Well, first of all, it's not the first Australian to challenge for a world title.
Oh, yeah, Mark Hunt against Werdum. You're right, my bad.
No, and Elvis Sinisic fought Tito Ortiz back at, like, UFC 53, I think, or something like that. So we did have an Australian that Tito Ortiz beat for the world title, and then Mark Hunt fought for the interim one. But, so Whittaker, it's awesome that he's fighting for a world title. I think that he deserves it. I mean, how much of a tear did he have to go on to actually get his shot? Like, some guys get 3 or 4 fight win streaks and they get their shot. He's done like a 7 fight win streak or something, you know, and he puts guys away. I think he finishes I think he finishes Romero in the first round.
First round? Wow, very, very bold prediction, Damien.
Yeah, I think he knocks him out towards the end of the first round. Powerful, he's fast, he's got it together, man.
He really does, man. You know, and I feel like, obviously, you know, ever since he moved up to 185, it's just everything's been translating. He's fighting on a different frequency, and man, he's so much faster than these guys too.
Yeah, man, he's explosive, man. I mean, so is Romero, but Romero's kind of like really relaxed, chills out, lays back, and then explodes. Whittaker's on the pulse, man, the whole time. You know, he's not relaxed and waiting to explode. He's feinting, faking, and dipping, ducking, weaving, and then he explodes. So I think he's really unpredictable, and I think that he will definitely finish his fight inside the distance of the first round.
Hey, tell me what you think about this fight, man, because look, John Jones and Daniel are rematching, and, you know, is this simply a case where John Jones has DC's number, or do you think that Cormier can make the proper adjustments to hand John Jones his first ever legitimate defeat?
What are the proper adjustments?
I mean, that's the question, right?
He's undefeated, man. No one's made the proper adjustments, have they? So, yeah, no, I don't. I mean, I like Cormier. He's a gentleman. You know, he does the right things. He says the right things. He's a good role model for people. But I think John Jones wins this one for sure. He gets back what's his and puts all the bad stuff behind him. And, you know, the world loves John Jones again.
Well, Damien, it's going down for you this Sunday, for us this Saturday, you and Vinc Pichel. If it were up to you, how would this fight go down, Damien?
If it was up to me, this fight would go down with both of us standing in the center of the cage throwing punches, and someone goes to sleep in the second round.
Well, Damien,
probably not me.
We wish you the best of luck, man. I hope you get that 50G bonus, which they should have given you your last 2 fights. Maybe third time's the charm, my man. And best of luck, man.
Lucky.
Yeah.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on the show.
Anytime. Before you go, let the audience know where they can follow you, and anything else you want to tell the fans, go ahead.
Yeah, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Beatdown155. Check out my pages, follow my stuff, share it. More love, the better. Thanks, guys.